What's up, guys? Down to that channel. Welcome back to another fuck! What's up, guys? Down to that channel. Welcome back to another Doki Doki video. We are once again playing Lost Ascension, because we don't play anything else at this point. So last time we left off, I don't fucking remember what happened. Things happened last time. Well, you know what? I do remember. We shared poems last time, and I don't remember exactly where we are now, but we're in the hallway, apparently, is what the save state says. I don't really know everything that happened. All I know is that we shared poems. That's all I fucking remember. I know that, the MC made a bunch of different poems for each and every one of us, specifically, but they were all pretty mean and very, very attacking. I want to say before we get started as well that this face cam, I don't currently have my face cam separate right now, mainly because I don't think I'm really going to need to separate my face cam for DDLC videos. So for this video and future DDLC videos, my face cam, if something's in the way, for the very rare reason of my face cam's just in the way of something, I apologize, but I don't really plan on separating my face cam for DDLC videos. I just don't find the need to do so, because I think it's just way more work added for something that's completely unnecessary. So, and I also want to apologize because I still have my canker sore, so if I have to pause every now and then, or if I have to just if you just notice me just kind of sitting there, I'm probably just tolerating the pain, because it does hurt to talk, and I'm playing DDLC, which requires a lot of talking. So, let's get started, shall we? I watched Natsuki silently, occasionally glancing at her, noting that she was trying not to look at me. Did I mess up? What the fuck did we miss last time? I might have to pause the video just to find out what the fuck happened. I'm not going to, because you know me, I'm a lazy shit, but fuck it. Apparently something big is that, you know what, I think I remember. Natsuki and Yuri actually got into a real fight. Like, not fight, but argument. Like, about whose poem was better. And it was supposed to be, staged, but then it went way out of whack in proportion, and it was awful. It was a very funny time, but it was awful nonetheless. We arrived at the water fountain, and Natsuki watched me as I put the teapot down and began to fill it with water. They're on good terms now, though, I think. So we should be good. The silence that had been present was being broken with the sound of rushing water splashing into the glass teapot. Wow, grass tea. Could you imagine a fucking teapot made of grass? How would the tea taste? Yuri, I felt my body tense up. Yes, Natsuki? I felt the two smaller hands reach over and grasp mine. My attention was directed at her as she looked up at me, her eyes filled with tears. I'm really sorry, Yuri. I didn't mean to get so angry at you. The water fountain stopped running, regardless as to whether or not it had finished filling the teapot with water. Natsuki, something came over me, a feeling of unease when I looked at her, her grip tightening. I'm so goddamn sorry. I got into the heat of the moment and I lost my cool. She was silenced as I made the decision to hug her, her face becoming even more teared up as she hugged me back tightly. It's okay, Natsuki. I shouldn't have said that to you. If I had known, I wouldn't have. I'm so sorry. She buried her face into my chest, her sobs becoming more muffled as time went on. For once, I wanted not to let go, even though she got on my nerves sometimes. She's still my friend, and she needs my support too. We should get back to the club before they get worried or worse. I nodded as I turned the water fountain back on, Natsuki not yet letting go of me. The last drops of water hit the teapot as we began to make our way back. Natsuki had let me go at this point, and the two of us walking together. It's a bit lonely without her warmth. I looked at her and smiled as we approached the clubroom door. I'm drooling everywhere, I'm sorry. She looked at me with a more confident smile. It's not because of the scene. I don't know, I'm just really thirsty. Don't you dare tell anybody about this, or I'll make you regret it. You got that? I laughed a little bit as she held open the door for me, and we went back inside without further complications. Oh, it's Sayori's turn, yay. I looked over to watch Yuri and Natsuki when they came inside, a short breath of relief escaping my lips as I noticed that they were smiling again. Monika also seemed to be relieved as she cleared her throat softly. Okay, everyone! She stood up straight with her finger upraised. This is the loudest fucking music ever. I'm sorry, Dan, but it's very ear-bursting. Upraised in her normal glamour. But Devin, there's a volume button! I know, but I just didn't use it. After Yuri and Natsuki finished their little tea session, I think it's about time we call it a day. Natsuki's glare was red hot. I could feel the heat of it from my position across the room. One thing before we leave, how do we all feel about sharing poems together? Yeah, it's Great, Monica! I felt my spirits raise when she said this. I had nearly forgotten that I had started working on my poem for our club meeting tonight. Oh, that's right! We have real club meetings, I want to say Sayori's house? Every night now, because MC is like a fucking... MC1 is a dunce, 2 is an asshole, and 3 is not real. And according to the girls, they think they're... I mean, they all think they're probably fake or whatever, but at least they all have personality, and MC's just like, yeah, whatever. But yeah, no, they set up meetings and stuff every night now, after the actual club meeting. The real one happens the evening afterwards. Shit, did I read this already? I think so. My poem, I'm sure they'll love it. I looked down at the piece of paper with a nearly completed poem on it, my smile growing as I slipped it in my bag for later. I then noticed that Monika was shooting me glances. I was a bit confused at first until I remembered. Oh, right! I thought it was fun, Monika. I don't know why. The shortest sentence I couldn't read, but everything else was fine. Natsuki and Yuri agreed as they placed out the now filled teacups, the smell of it taking over my senses. He sipped the tea generously, letting out a quiet thank you as he started to pack up his things, his character model showing little to no real interest in what was going on with the rest of us. Wow, that's thanks, MC. What about you, Devin? He looked up and spoke harshly. Yeah, I'd say the same. It was a neat thing to talk about with everyone. Monika smiled as brightly as she could to his rather dull response. Then I say we do the same thing tomorrow. It's a good way to connect together as a club. I smiled at her response, my eyes catching the drifting concern Monika now had as she looked at me. Oh yeah, she's very concerned. This is another one of those moments where now, magically, you guys can't see her concern, except for her mouth, because my fucking face cam's in the way. I knew for a fact that as soon as I decided, let's put the face cam in this video as part of the video, and not separate, and all of a sudden now I need it separate. But fuck it. I smile. I think I already read this. Still worried? I'm fine now. I was already standing and getting ready to head home until the thought hit me like a train. I have to walk home with him. I looked at him and back at Monika. My gut told me to continue, but hey Devin, you ready to walk home with me? No time to think, Sayori. I said it suddenly, not letting my own thought continue out a fear of what my nervousness would do. I just beat the shit out of him, he won't care. I'll carry the burden. It's the price I'll pay for everyone else. He looked at me and nodded in silence as we both exited the club room together. I took one last longing glance back at the club room before proceeding down the hall. Save me! The quiet echoing of our footsteps ringing out before we finally made it outside. Oh, this fucking game. I love it. After what felt like an eternity, we reached our street. The quiet brought a certain sense of calm to me, at least until his voice started to grate my eardrums. Sayori, what happened oh my god, I squeaked. What happened earlier? I looked at him, caught off a bit off guard by the sudden interruption of my peaceful stroll. You know, between Natsuki and Yuri, does that sort of thing happen often? I look at him with a bit of shock running through my system and quickly sprouted without an answer. No! I've never seen them fight like that before. I promise you they're not normally like that. You don't hate any of them, do you? I look at him, my dialogue going through my head like lightning as he spoke, but his dialogue drowned out. Something else caught my attention in that moment. He had the strangest look. Oh, he does have the strangest look on his face. His expression remained still. I blinked a few times as I stared at him. I don't think he's buying it, Sayori. Disgust? Rage? Anguish? I couldn't discern it. He seemed genuinely mad at me for telling him that they aren't normally at each other's throat like that they were today. I can see why they make good friends with you. I could taste how bitter he was with that statement, my heart sinking a little as I realized that I couldn't possibly tell him how hurtful his words really were being in that moment. Not even just towards me either, but everyone. That's good. I'm glad you're enjoying your time with all of us. Oh, and now you start smiling. I turned away from his face, feeling a swell of emotion overcome me a little. I guess we'll have to see what the future holds, right? I felt a hand lay on my shoulder before patting my arm a few times. He let go and pretty much darted away from me into his house, leaving me alone on the street. Wow, that's a fucking great move to do to a lady. I looked at my shoulder and brushed it off as the surge of emotion starting to get worse as I rushed inside my house and slammed the door behind me. Oh, fuck. He isn't real. The fuck was that? I don't think that's happened any other time during this mod so far. What the fuck just happened? No, what? I lowered myself with my back against the door and felt the tears rush out of my control. My chest was shaking from the overflow of emotions. Oh my fucking god. This is why the game cannot be this loud. I missed the entire first thing. And that one. And probably that one. And again. And again. And again. And again. And again. Oh, here he is. Look at that. He's right there, guys. I can see him. Oh my god. This is fucking... What the fuck? This isn't supposed to be horror? When was this horror? Okay? I wasn't sure how long I was alone on the floor, or who even found me lying there. I just know I woke up in my bed, cuddling my warm cow plushie. Mr. Cow... I snuggled it closely, doing what I did most nights to help me relax after a long day. Mr. Cow was so soft and smooth and... Wait a minute. I opened my eyes and realized that I wasn't snuggling up to Mr. Cow at all. Is it fucking MC? The first thing that filled my vision... If it's MC, beat the shit out of him. The first thing that filled my vision... There was never a yes in that entire thing. Was the hair that I was burying my face into. It was long and smelled oddly of coffee. Is it Monika? And after a few seconds, it clicked that the color was not that of Mr. Cow. Brown? Monika? I felt my body freeze as a revelation of who I was cuddling with came to me at full force. Monika? I pulled away a bit, but I realized that she was holding me in her arms as well. My face... Did she, like, break into our house in the middle of the night just to cuddle with us? My face flushed with blood as my eyes widened to the ever-growing predicament I was in. She fell asleep, staring right at me? I let out a quiet sigh as I tried to stay comfy. My mind was finding a strange level of peace from being in this position, even if it wasn't something I was expecting to wake up to. He isn't real. I felt my... That's what you said before, and we all had that fucking jump scare shit happening. I felt my eyes begin to close again as sleep began to take over. He isn't real. My eyes shut as I let out a happy noise of content. She is... The alarm interrupted my return to sleep, while Monika shook herself awake just enough to practically slap the clock so she could snuggle back into bed. No, I'm not going back to sleep now, not after that annoying noise. Monika? She grumbled something under her breath in response. Monika, hey. She opened an eye for a moment before closing it again. Monika. She sleepily opened her eyes after my third attempt. What is it, Sayori? I smiled a little. Can you let go of me now? I know I'm a comfy person to hug and all, but we don't have don't we have club stuff to do? Monika seemed confused until she shifted herself a little and looked at our position together a bit closer, to which the look on her face immediately went from sleepy to complete shock. Sayori! She let go of me and sat up, looking away from me out of complete embarrassment. I'm sorry, Sayori. I didn't mean to do that. I must have thought you were Mr. Cow, or... I smiled at her as I proceeded to boop her right on the nose in the middle of her sentence, her shock melting away into mild concern. Did you hurt your head or something when you fell? I smiled when I mentioned that. Did you find me? Monika shook her head. Natsuki did, actually. When you didn't answer your back door, she snuck around the front and, well, I thought. She looked away from me as I scooted over and hugged her tightly to comfort her. She's still so very warm, I could hug her forever. She hugged me back, a sigh of relief coming from her. After a little while, she pulled away regretfully. And you're right, we have to go clubbing tonight. Clubbing? That can mean two things. Whap! She smirked, or you can mean golf. I guess that could be three things, because golf, I think some people use the term clubbing. At least it's like some sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a slang term. She smirked as she said that, standing up and stretching out. I don't know, I'm not a fucking rich man. I don't know slang in fucking golf clubs. First is the coding club thingy, right, Monika? Coding club? I asked her curiously, yawning gently as she nodded in response. Is there something I'm forgetting already? Yup, Monika's coding club, patient pending. Patent pending, sure, yeah! She smiled as I got out of bed myself, stretching out my tired limbs. I realized I was in my stay-at-home clothes somehow. I looked up at Monika suspiciously, but she just shrugged in response for, did she, like, change us while we were, like, unconscious? That's kind of creepy. But she just shrugged in response before leading me out of my room and down the stairs. That's fucking creepy. If that's what happened, that's very, very creepy. Alright, everyone. Sayori and I walked down the I can't think properly now that I have that in my head. My voice picking up as we approached the living room. Natsuki and Yuri were hanging out on the couch as we approached. They both looked up at us and seemed pleased to see us arrive. You two look a bit messy. Did you sleep well? Sayori smiled with a wide grin. Yeah, huh? It was nice to wake up in bed instead of on the floor. Yuri's smile faltered a little bit as she looked at me. I nodded as Yuri let out a quiet sigh. She looked happy to hear that. I see. I'm glad you slept well, Sayori. I walked over to the center of the room, looking around in search of my notebook. It was sitting on the couch near the other two club members. A slight twinge of fear went through my body as I made my way towards them. Did you two just look through this? They looked at me and shook their heads. They seemed a bit confused as to why I cared so much. Nice job, Monika. They could have read about before. When you killed them? I sighed audibly as I sat down next to them and opened it up, reading a few pages of it as I got my mind together for tonight's lesson. Alright, we're going to keep today simple, just to give everyone a basis to go off for the rest of the week and beyond. If you all remember yesterday, we delved into the art of summoning items a little bit. Oh yeah, no, it's not another literature club. It's like that's what the coding club is. I remember last time we were here, Yuri had her own little purple command prompt, and Natsuki with her pink, and Sayori with her blue. And Natsuki made a cupcake, I think. Yuri probably made some tea or something. Sayori probably made a Mrs. Cow. I don't fucking remember what Sayori made, but whatever. The rest of the girls all looked up, their excitement clear in regards to my introduction of today. I have been wanting to make my tea set look better. Yeah, she made tea. This color isn't attuned to my personal tastes. Yuri said it as she picked up her pure black kettle, its metal reflecting the lights in the room poorly. Yeah, plus I was wondering if I could somehow make the colors of my cupcakes rainbow colored, or a mix. Natsuki smirked. Guess that's one way to avoid Yuri's teasing over. Oh, really? I thought you liked the purple icing. I guess I was wrong. Oh no, not again. Never mind, Yuri knows exactly what she was trying to do. And I guess I can maybe I can make, Sayori seemed to go deep. Did you not make anything? Sayori seemed to go deep into her own thoughts as she looked straight at me, eventually her eyes lighting up as something came to mind. I know what to make. I smiled as the girls all seemed to get excited over enhancing their coding skills for the first time. Is it a new bow for Monika? Alright then. We can just start with the tea set. It'll be easier to learn since it's a singular color change. Yuri's eyes lit up as she sat up straight and became serious in under a few seconds. Really? Why'd we have to start with her? Natsuki said it as she huffed, Yuri smiling a little towards Natsuki. Because I'm just simple like that, Natsuki. Plus, this'll be just a beginner step. Multicoloring will be much more fun to learn, I'm certain of it. Natsuki went into a deeper state of as she tried to find a way to combat Yuri's statement. So, what kind of color were you planning to create exactly? Yuri seemed to go deep in thought as she looked at her tea set before looking up at me. Her answer prepared. Probably purple, huh? A deep purple. I'm not a fan of bright colors for the most part. She said the last bit when she glanced over at Natsuki, and I couldn't help but raise an eyebrow in response to that. Deep colors. Okay, we can do that. Is that like a big insult to Yuri? I don't like bright colors, Natsuki. I thought for a moment before pulling up my command prompt and typing in a quick line of code. Yuri was watching me with intent in her eyes. Get asset T set. Okay, I didn't get to read any of that. So to change the color of your T set. Oh, that's another thing. You guys can't see the command prompt. Let me just, hold on. Let me just real quickly just flip my face cam around. I'm just gonna real quickly do that. Because it's gonna bother me if I don't. Oh, you fucking crashed again. Oh, you've gotta be kidding me. That's the third fucking time you've crashed. Every time I click out of my Lost Ascension specifically, for some reason, my fucking game, like, I click out of it, it like minimizes itself like it normally does for any mod and just in general. But as soon as I click back into Lost Ascension, the fucking game just straight crashes. I don't get it. I don't fucking get it at all. Now, we gotta go through all this shit, and I gotta do it fucking... I gotta physically do it again, because now, because it's just straight, I can't skip it, because technically it didn't happen. So to change the color of your cheat set's texture, you can simply change its hex color code. Yuri frowned, looking disgruntled. Hex color code? I smiled at her confusion. Is that like the numbers, like the bunch of just different like numbers like that Photoshop uses and stuff like that? I smiled at confusion. Yes, a 6-digit number code, yep. That represents different colors. Yuri puzzled for a moment trying to process the information that I'd given her. So it's like 6 Fs is like is black and like 6 zeros is white, I think. Yuri had puzzled for a moment, trying to process the information that I had given her. Well, if the colors are represented by numbers, how do I know what number to choose for the right color? I raised up my finger, allowing myself to take confidence in my knowledge. Explaining how the numbers are read out loud would be a bit complicated. To keep things simple, I'll let you borrow my color reference notes that I've had on me for a while now. I turned to the proper page on my notes and hand them off to Yuri, who was looking over the page, trying to figure things out on her own. She nodded and she looked up at me, silently signaling that she was ready. She pulled out her own and typed in what I had typed before to pull the tea set up, and began to think hard about her color choice. She typed in what she wanted to change it to, and within a few seconds her tea set shifted its hue into a much darker purple. Oh my! She looked down at the tea set with a surprise as she picked it up, examining every little detail she could. It's purple. That's amazing. Natsuki and Sayori were watching in awe for a few moments before Natsuki grabbed my notebook and looked it over. She nodded and pulled her own command prompt and entered in a long line of code. She chose a bunch of different ones in a list. Aha! I got it already! Natsuki created a cupcake with a mixture of colors in the icing. They didn't mix together all that well, but they did add to the beauty of it. Green, purple, blue, pink. I smiled as she held it up proudly. My nose will not stop itching. Thanks, Matt. Yuri was catching on as much as I was about her color choices, while Sayori just stared at it hungrily. Of course you are, Sayori. You and your fucking food addictions. Can I have it? Natsuki held it away from her as she bit into it triumphantly. This is mine, Sayori, not yours. Sayori pouted as Yuri giggled, my smile coming up as I turned my attention to Sayori. What would you like to create today, then, Sayori? She looked at me, and a realization seemed to come over her. She stuttered as she seemed to collect her thoughts, finally opening her mouth. I would like to make a plushie for her. I stopped herself as she shook her head. Oh, a platter of cookies. Come on. You need to make a plushie. A platter of cookies. A big warm platter, tasty and fresh. Oh my god. Whoa! I do that so much when I read. I don't know why I do that. Oh my god. That's like the fucking summertime shit where I accidentally fucking said noose instead of nose, I think it was, with Natsuki. Oh, that was a long time ago, but holy shit, I still do the same exact shit. Oh, it's awful. I looked at her, a bit confused as to why she seemed so unsure of herself. Oh, that's not too hard so it's a good start. Sayori smiled relieved as I opened my command prompt, the other girls watching me closely. So, let's see. I looked over at Sayori. What kind of cookies do you want? Chocolate chip. I know Sayori well. She seemed to go into thought. Oh, cinnamon cookies. Apparently I don't know her as well. I should have honestly expected that because she has cinnamon hair, but whatever. I guess you can't be all psychic, Devin. How about some cinnamon cookies? I laughed as I started to type out the code to show her how to make the cookies themselves. Get acid cookies flavor. Whoosh. Or oosh. I'm sorry. Or ooh. There's no S involved. I don't know why the fuck that took me 3 times to say oh. So I can change that value, the cookie flavor thing? She said it, appearing to understand it right away as she pulled up her own command prompt and started to type into it. Cookies of pen cinnamon, I love that. Jeez, she's really fast at that. She hit enter as a plate full of freshly made cookies dropped down in front of the group. Sayori's eyes widening with excitement as she picked one up and bit into it. Yes! She was talking with her mouth full again. Sayori, come on, don't talk with your mouth full. Natsuki piped up as she picked one up and joined in the feasting, Yuri giggled as she pulled up her command prompt again. She seemed interested in doing more. Well, let's spend the next 30 minutes messing around with this so everyone can get used to it. It seems we can jump a little further than just color switching for today, thanks to Sayori. The others nodded as they got back into their work, poking at things to edit around the house and with new things to spawn in and mess with. Wow, I read that so chunky. Alright, everyone! I piped up with a laugh as they put their command prompts away, Sayori looking especially disheartened but to be interrupted. I do my best to console her with my simple words as to what was happening next. No need to look that way. After all, I smiled brightly as my excitement came through through unfiltered. It's time to share poems! Now it's the literature club again. The girls brightened up as I said this. Natsuki in particular was quite determined to show off her work. Poem time, yes! Sayori said it loudly as she scrambled over her bag, which was sitting by the front door still. Yuri let out a small laugh as she walked over to her own bag, reaching in and pulling out a small piece of neatly folded paper. Natsuki reached behind the couch and pulled up her own bag, pulling out her poem as well. Well, if everyone's ready, well then I guess we can start sharing. Who wants to go first? The rest of my club smiled as they looked at each other, at least until the stark realization set in from what they had to do is share their poems. And with that, their confidence faded away. Oh yeah, because these are like poems that physically they are writing now. It's not like poems that the game just gives them to give to MC. It's straight up like, hey, this is from my own feelings, so now I don't want to share them because now there's issues. Or not. Okay. I thought things over for a moment before snapping my fingers, the other three looking at me with a surprise. I'll go to each of you, and we can swap who goes to who every day, at least until we're all comfortable enough to share openly with one another. The others nodded as I looked at my own poem. Admittedly, I was a bit nervous as well, but I need to prove my strength as a leader for them in this moment. No, Sayori? I don't get to choose Sayori? Where's Sayori? I feel, what's the word I'm looking for? Deprived. I feel deprived that I can't share with Sayori. Fuck. Yuri, it's time to Yuri. It's time to Yuri. Me? Now? Yuri said it quietly as I approached her. Wow! I cannot fucking read. She had decided to sit down at the dinner table, which was not too separated from the living room. Natsuki and Sayori were chatting in the background as I shared their poems. Yes, Yuri, I hope you don't mind. She nodded as she and I exchanged the moment of silence. Sayori would have gotten her chatting by now. Oh, here. I almost forgot. Yuri slid her poem over to me. I did the same respectfully as I picked it up and looked at her poem. A breath of unfrozen air. The icy tendrils wrapping around my skin, squeezing, lashing out their last whim. This is the one. I could see the warm fire, crackling with life and joy. Its size minute. That makes sense. Yet its hope, maybe I'm just being stupid, yet its hope unmatched. The freezing restraints, broken at last. I blinked a few times and as I looked up at Yuri, she really did have a way with words that I couldn't express. It's nice to hear your own words, isn't it? She put my poem down, the message clear to both of us that she looked deep in thought. You never did tell us what happened before, not at all, not all of it at least. Oh, now she's trying to dig into Monika now. Oh no. She looked at me seriously as I felt a twinge of guilt over having not told them the full truth yet. If you need to tell us, you can. She's reaching out to me? Yuri of all people? I felt confusion mixed in with my overwhelming guilt and regret. Why is she trying to be so nice about it? I will. If I need to tell you, I will. I promise. She smiled a little as she took her poem back. I'll take your word on that, Monika. As for your poem, I think we can agree that we both kind of wanted to talk about the same thing. Maybe tonight or tomorrow if we can talk about it more if that's okay. Determination was welled up in her voice as she looked at her own poem and then back at me. I'm hoping to go into more details about this Saturday, when we won't be so stressed out about this week. She looked at me with a glance of concern, a glint of suspicion lying underneath. Admittedly, she would be right about me not wanting to talk about it since I didn't even try to mention it when I first talked to them. It isn't just for me either. It'd be for all of you because you all deserve the truth. She seemed to sigh, accepting the initial compromise. I will trust your word, Monika. I just don't want this to cause any distress at a crucial moment, like you said before. She smiled again. But you are right. This Saturday seems to be an opportune time. Although I could tell from the strange tone of her voice that she wouldn't exactly let the issue lie bare until this Saturday, I decided to accept the compromise as well. I agreed with her word and stood up, thanking her for the time before moving on to my next partner. Natsuki! Alright, I didn't even get to choose, it was just straight Natsuki. Alright, Natsuki! I walked over to her and sat down next to her. She had situated herself on the couch for a time being, and was leaning back and trying to cast off a tough and stoic demeanor. That's a big word. Are you ready? She sighed audibly as she sat up and held out her poem. The quiet chatter of Yuri and Sayori beginning to pick up as the two of them shared their poems as well. Yeah, sure, just don't think I'm bad, because you do that coding stuff all the time. I looked up at her as I took the paper from her and smiled. That doesn't mean I'm a good writer, I just know how to write lines of data. Natsuki scoffed as she took my poem. She was a bit rough, but I could tell she was taking her time when she started to read it. My attention then went back to the poem that I now had. The Fluffy King! I explore that feeling, one of comfort, one of peace, with everyone. I see clouds, I see the sun, I see the sky, I see everyone. I like the Fluffy Kings, I like the yellow rays, I like the blue freedom, I see myself. Good poem, Natsuki. I read it over a few times, my mind racing. Are the Fluffy Kings the clouds? What does this even mean? I felt my notebook get placed on my lap. I looked up at Natsuki as she was staring at me, a look of nervousness obviously displayed on her face, I'm sorry. Natsuki, this poem is... I looked over her poem again. You don't get it, do you? She sat up bluntly as I looked up at her, a feeling of doubt crawling on my back. Oh, I just squeaked. I felt embarrassment turn my face red as I looked away from her. I looked at her poem again, something clicking when I read over each last line of the stanzas again. I do get it. I looked up at her with a smile, to which she returned with a curious look of her own. I handed the poem back to her and straightened myself up in my seat. In fact, I think I understand exactly what you're getting at here. Her surprise only grew as I put a finger to my cheek. Check. My smile growing a bit more. You like the calmness of little cloudy days, the ones in which you find yourself free and able to relax. Her surprise dissipated a little, my eyebrow raising. And you're comparing to that of what you have now, with us. You were your little cloudy days with a bright sun peeking out. She smiled when I said that. You didn't get it entirely, but close enough. I felt a bit discouraged as she said leaned back on the couch. Yeah, I did write about you guys, but the reason I did it wasn't solely about that. She smiled brightly, but I appreciate that you understood that she seemed to have a spark of realization ignited, when she locked her gaze onto me. Yeah, about you guys. She looked away, her smug attitude disappearing. So, your poem. Just swipe that conversation away. She sat up as she changed the subject, a small smile crossing my face. It was really insightful? I guess that would be the word that Yuri would use. She seemed to think that for a moment before shrugging. I mean, I'm sure I would get it better without the fancy words and stuff, but you got the point across. It must have sucked. Oh, wow, I can't fucking read, I'm sorry. It must have sucked being alone like that. I smiled sadly as I nodded. She understands, even if she hasn't experienced exactly what I've been through. Yeah, it really did suck. Natsuki put a gentle hand on my arm. You'll get better, I know you will. Heck, you already have improved, haven't you? Yeah, sure. I'm not trying to kill you guys yet. I looked at her a bit confused as she relaxed her expression once again. Well, let's get going. I really want to start making dinner. I laughed as she let out her signature before getting up and looking at the others. Monika! Oh my god, Sayori's just in my face. Monika! Sayori hugged me tightly as I approached. I froze out of instinct, my limbs going still from the sudden shock of her arms clamping around my body. Sayori, you really need to stop surprising me like that. She pulled back and gave me a pout, her expression showing off how upset she was with my reaction. Do you not like my hug, Monika? I shook my head without any hesitation. No, it's not that. It's just that Her upset pout was slowly morphing into a gaze of genuine sadness, my heart twinging with regret as I looked at her, my mouth clamped shut. I sighed audibly as I looked at her. All right, Sayori, you can help me whenever, so long as you promise it won't result in nearly toppling me over, or scaring me half to death. She smirked deviously as she took in the glory of her apparent victory. Of course, it was too late to revert the mistake that I had just made. She really was just messing with me, that little devil. Anyways, you don't know this about Sayori already? That's kind of sad. You ready to share, Monika? She led me over to the couch and we both sat down, facing each other. When did she become so persuasive? She's stepping up her game all of a sudden. Oh, I just got a great idea. The other two looked over as she piped up a bit too loudly. How about we read our poems aloud to each other? That's fucked. You know this once. Just to try it? I looked at the others, hoping that they would disagree, but they both seemed to like the idea of the... We basically had the same idea earlier, and now all of a sudden they want to do it? God damn it. I sigh internally, giving into Sayori's wants without much hesitation. Sure, let's try it this once, just to see how it goes. Sayori smiled as Yuri started to read quietly to Natsuki. She was taking quick note of Natsuki's intense expression, and she had honed in on Yuri's every word. Those two are pretty cool with it. I guess I really don't have a choice at this point. Okay, Monika, you want to go first or should I? Sayori tore my focus away from the others, and I looked back at her and down at my poem and wondered about. Ooh, I get to choose. Who should go first? Should she or should I? I'll go first. Well, with me being the president, it's only natural that I go first, right? Sayori's eyes lit up as I said this. Yay, I get to listen to your poem first. Sayori smiled brightly at me as I awkwardly began reading my poem out loud. The tide of changing waves, desperate to bring about a new time. My hand drifts across the numbers and letters, ever so curious, and curiouser, looking harder, deeper, farther than before, seeking, something to finally set me loose, something to let me free. I finished reading. Sayori's eyes were sparkling with enthusiasm as she held up hers. I'm gonna read mine now. I hope it's good enough to match yours. I smiled as I laughed at this. I'm sure it'll be just fine, Sayori. You're a good writer after all. She seemed pleased with my support as she began to read her poem. The fresh smell of cherry blossoms, dangling fresh in the air, something not yet felt or ever seen before. I love it here with the cheerful cherries. They would wave softly in the wind. Sayori finished her poem and I couldn't help but smile at it. That was wonderful, Sayori. It was so nice to hear you put in so much effort. She smiled as she relaxed a little bit. I could tell she had been nervous about it from the get-go. It was not nearly as amazing as yours, though, Monika. I looked at her strangely. You really think so? She nodded intensely. It was super-duper awesome. I raised an eyebrow. I really didn't think it was my best. Don't discredit yourself, though. Yours was just as amazing as mine. She seemed a bit taken aback by my compliment. Thank you, Monika, but... I shook my head as she looked at me confused. I'm being serious. Your poem was just as good as mine. If not better. She pouted a bit, but eventually relented to my reassurance. Well, thank you, Monika. I really appreciate that. I smiled as I put my poem to the side and hugged her. She seemed a bit surprised, but she hugged me back before we pulled away. We chatted for a little while before I glanced at the time on the clock. Oh, it's almost time for dinner, isn't it? Sorry to stop our conversation, but... I gestured to the clock in the room, Sayori looking back at it and jumping a little in shock. Whoa, it's that late already? I guess it's time for more of Natsuki's famous cooking. And Sayori's already got the food face. That's what I'm gonna start calling the face now. This is literally her food face. Like, what? Somebody say food? I laughed a little at that before I stood up, preparing to address the others. My nose, what's up, itching? Natsuki's turn. Alright, everyone. Monika spoke up as we finished sharing poems with one another, my head snapping to look at her. Already? I looked down at my poem again before folding it up and stuffing it into my pocket. I did not read the rest of that, and my nose is still itchy. I looked down at my poem again before folding it up and stuffing it into my pocket. Turning my attention towards Monika once again. My nose will not stop itching. I hate this. I'll be right back, guys. Has there ever been a DDLC video where my nose just haven't itched, you know, like a motherfucker at least once? Excuse me. That was all the time we have for today. We're almost out of time, which is a shame in all honesty. She smiled brightly at us, from the front of the room, her eyes gazing over us. Was that enjoyable? She looked concerned as she asked, Sayori beaming back, she stood up. That was a really great suggestion, Yuri, and you led us amazingly, Monika. I looked over at Monika and shrugged. Yeah, it was pretty alright. Yuri nodded in agreement as she settled into her chair in a more relaxed manner. Yes, it was truly enjoyable, Monika. Thank you for indulging my idea and for pursuing it as much as you did. Yuri, that's the most formal thing you've ever fucking said. Please, we are in Sayori's house. I smiled over at Yuri. She responded in kind. So we can do this again tomorrow? Sayori said excitedly as Monika immediately responded with an enthusiastic nod. Of course. This is something we all enjoyed, isn't it? I rolled my eyes as I stood up and stretched out my back. Sure, but you guys are all acting like this isn't even remotely difficult. The others looked over at me. Yuri looked a bit mad at my tease, while Monika and Sayori looked at me surprised. Oh crap, did I seriously just say that out loud? I mean, Monika laughed, which caused a scolding look on Yuri's face to contort into a small smile. It's alright, Natsuki, go prove your worth, Miss Chef. I felt my face burn up as I crossed my arms in response. Yuri's smile was only growing as my annoyance followed. The music stopped. I'm scared. I let out a loud sigh as I laughed about my embarrassment. I wanted to pursue the argument, but I figured I would let the cooking do the talking. Entering the kitchen, I took in a deep breath, letting myself become familiar with Sayori's kitchen again. Alright, let's whip up something memorable. I opened up the pantry first, gathering up spices in a box of spaghetti. Let's see how prepared they are for this one. I smirked to myself, planning to hit them hard with this dish, even with a simple concept and introduction. I pulled out the pot and let it fill with water while I rushed over to the fridge, easily digging into it with ease and pulling out a few uncut tomatoes. I nodded to myself as I went back to the pot, turning off the water and attempting to pull it out of the sink, only to realize that I might end up spilling it all over the place if I lifted it without any help. Do you need help? It's like Yuri sensed that and like just came out like, hey, you seem like you need some help. That's fucking, is she a goddess? I felt my body freeze up once again, every fiber of my body tensed by her sudden arrival behind me. Every time she says anything out of the blue, I swear. Although I guess it was good timing on her part. It sure fucking was. I turned around and looked at Yuri. She was watching me from nearby the fridge, her hands wrapped around what appeared to be a fresh fruit. I need help. She put down what was apparently an apple before gracefully walking over next to me, and pulled up the pot out of the sink before placing it on top of the stove. Don't tell the others, got it? She looked at me and smiled in response. Would you like any more help with this, Natsuki? I opened my mouth to say no immediately, but I felt my throat clench up as I reconsidered it. Yes, I would like more help, please. She seemed a bit surprised at my answer. I guess we're still both getting used to being so nice. Then I'll stay here and help you. She walked over and looked at everything out on the counter. I don't know why I drew a blank, I'm sorry. A clear look of confusion crossed her eyes. It sounded like at first that it didn't make sense, but then I read it again in my head. I'm like, yep, that totally makes sense, and I was just being stupid. How did you, what are we making? I walked over and smirked as I turned on the flame below the pot. Yuri jumped back a little at how sudden the fire appeared. Just watch and learn, Yuri. This is the kind of stuff that survivalists learn how to do. She laughed again as she stood back, watching me throw in a few of the different spices into the water initially, then letting it boil out into an even spread. Hey, Yuri. She looked at me curiously. Yes, Natsuki? I smirked at the joke as the joke bubbled out of me. Are you straight? Oh God, that is not, joke or not, that is not something you just abruptly ask somebody. I'm sorry, but like, I mean, obviously you have to know somehow, but that's just really abrupt. The look on her face jumped straight into pure and utter shock at my blunt humor. Why would you ask me something like that so suddenly? I smirked as I turned towards her and took a step closer. I couldn't help but be coy about the whole thing. Because spaghetti's straight. Oh, God damn it, Natsuki. I put a finger on her chest, pressing gently as I leaned up towards her. Until it gets wet. That's fucked. She looked at me confused as I said that. Until it gets wet. Her nervousness faded away as she smiled, letting out a louder than a normal laugh. She took a step away from me as she tried to keep herself calm. To no avail, of course. I'm spitting everywhere, I'm sorry. To no avail, of course, I smirked as she kept laughing over my joke. Master of jokes, Natsuki, at your service. I thought it to myself as she snorted in the middle of her laugh, causing me to laugh a little bit as well. Okay, Natsuki, seriously? I nodded as I turned my attention towards the wet pasta, getting it over to the sink and pouring it into a colander. I put the pot back under the stove and mixed it together the last of the spices and tomato sauce into the now empty pot. Yuri was still trying to calm down over my joke. If I knew you were such a comedian, I would have approached you sooner. I looked at her and winked as I picked up now waterless noodles and put them back into the pot. If you can carry this out to the kitchen, I can get the utensils and everything else. She nodded as she picked up the pot, stopping and looking at me as I went over to the fridge, pulling out some of the grated cheese Sayori had. Natsuki? I looked over at her and felt a chill up my spine again. Her eyes were a little closed a little as she looked at me, my face getting red from her intense stare. Thanks for making today wonderful, in spite of what happened earlier with Devin. I couldn't help but smile. Isn't that the first time, isn't that the first real time they've used my name? They've been using him for the longest time, and all of a sudden now they're using my actual name. I think they're warming up to me, guys. What do you think? I couldn't help but smile. It's no problem. Plus, we have reading to do after dinner, right? I'm looking forward to that. Oh yeah, that's right. Isn't Yuri supposed to be reading fucking manga with her now? She nodded as she turned and walked over to the table, my pride swelling up. Today was stacking up to be pretty good, and dinner will be a great way to finish it off. Yuri's turn. I sat down at the dinner table after I placed down the pot, allowing myself to relax as Natsuki came over and set up the utensils at each girl's spot. Natsuki then sets down a decently sized bowl of the cheese she had gotten out. Her grin was wide as the other two joined us from the living room. And there's Sayori's food face again. You guys can't see that again, because now my fucking face cam is yet again in the way. Well, you can see a little bit of the stars underneath, but you can't see, like, the full fucking thing. Her grin was wide as the other two joined us in the living room. Sayori's eyes in particular were widening as she stared at the large pot. How? Sayori kept stuttering as Monika smiled at the whole feast. Thank you for putting this all together for us, Natsuki. She said it with a clear cheer to her tone as she helped Sayori sit down during what could basically be summed up as a panic attack over food. I cannot fucking read for the life of me, I'm sorry. Sayori must really love food. I felt a small smile come across my face as the bowls were shifted around between us, the spaghetti being served in large helpings as we discussed over the day's events. So, this morning was okay? I wasn't sure if it'd be. Monika placed a small amount of cheese over her sauce-covered noodles as she said this. She seemed to grimace a little as she watched Sayori think for a moment. Did you not think it would be all good? Yeah, it was alright, I guess. Although I'd say that walking with him was... Sayori's smile fades away as her brow furrows a little bit in thought. I don't know, sad? Lonely? I'm not really sure. She seemed to be in deep in thought about it as Natsuki piped up to help her out. You mean it was just super boring and bland? Sayori looked up and nodded, her expression relaxing and body language mellowing. Yeah, that's probably the best way to put it. I smiled to myself again as I got a hold of the cheese and poured some of it into my meal before placing it back on the table. I couldn't help myself but smile at my completed bowl. I helped make this with Natsuki. I twirled a little bit onto my fork before lifting it up and placing it in my mouth. Huh? How did you keep making these amazing meals? I felt my inner self take over a moment as I dug in. The others seemed to be in agreement, all of us finding a rhythm of silence as we savored the taste of Natsuki's impressive cooking. Natsuki, so good! Sayori said it as she got herself a second helping, a clear smile on her face. Natsuki smirks, pleased with the fruits of her labor. Thank you. Finally, someone who appreciates my efforts with something around here. I looked over at her concerned. Does she think I lied about her poem? I did actually think it was pretty good. I looked back down at my bowl and realized that I pretty much scarfed down the entire thing. I smiled to myself happily as I got a second helping of a delicious meal. Well, you do a lot for us, Natsuki. It's outside of just cooking. I mean, you helped Yuri out. I looked up in surprise at Monika, who was smiling at the two of us. Wait. I started out as Natsuki looked at me. I was just spending some time with her, that is all. Natsuki simply nodded in agreement as Monika chuckled. Sure? Monika, you son of a bitch. Why is everybody being wicked, like, forward going with each other? I don't get it. I'm spinning everywhere. I'm sorry. Reading each other's books, helping each other cook. That sounds like a friendship in the making. Oh, maybe she's not going that far. But seriously, I heard a quiet gasp from Natsuki as I looked over at her. The prospect of an actual friendship hit me like a cement truck. Is she really my friend now? I mean, she has to be at this point, considering everything we've done together. See? I think it's good that we're able to connect like this. I mean, it's important for us to click like this, right? Everyone at the table nodded as Monika put up another forkful of her dinner to her mouth, her face going back to that of blissful enjoyment. I keep spitting everywhere, I'm sorry. I also have heard that the food fights are a good way to bond between friends. Don't do it, Monika! Don't fucking do it! Sayori's head perked up from her meal. All of us looked at her strangely before she started to laugh. I'm just kidding, jeez. That's such a childish idea anyway. I couldn't help but laugh a little bit. Watch Sayori smack her with noodles. Yes, quite immature and amateur. So Monika, tomorrow is just more of the same, correct? Monika finished a bite of food before responding. In general, mostly is. More poem sharing, some different situations between us over the duration of the day, but yes, pretty much the same. Natsuki sighed as she pushed her bowl away. She leaned back and patted her stomach. At least I have this food to look forward to when we're finished. She smirked to herself as her self-compliment sunk in. Still stroking that ego, huh, Natsuki? Yeah, it's so good! Sayori proclaimed it as she got up and looked into the pot, a sad expression crossing her face once she saw the interior of it. It's empty. It's got little remnants of sauce and chives left. There's no more left! Monika frowned for a moment before offering her bowl to the pouting Sayori. You can have what's left of mine if you want it. I can't eat any more tonight. Sayori's face lit up as she has a bottomless stomach. Sayori's face lit up as she took the bowl and practically began to absorb it through her mouth. Jeez, Sayori, slow down here, it'll choke. Sayori had gone unresponsive as she shoved food into her mouth. Whoa, that's a big word. Voraciously, whatever the fuck it is. We might be here for a bit. Monika looked over at us and smiled apologetically. You two can go though. Sayori and I can clean up, it's only fair. Natsuki looked like she wanted to protest, but she hung her head and stood up. Well, we have to read together anyway, so thank you, Monika. Thank you. Natsuki looked up and smiled. Wow, I'm drawing blanks again. Smiled before walking out of the kitchen. I don't know why I keep having these blank moments. I stood up and readjusted my sweater before turning to follow Natsuki. Yuri. I paused and turned around. I'm sorry. Yes, Monika? Oh god, I just squeaked. She was staring at me seriously before glancing over at the eating Sayori. Never mind, I'm just... nothing. She was watching Sayori now curiously. Is she? I watched Monika for a few moments before shrugging it off and leaving the room. Sayori? Was she really? Hey, Yuri. My thought was interrupted by a small voice of Natsuki calling me over to the couch. I made my way over and sat down next to her as she scooted over closer to me. So, I wanted to finish up that chapter from earlier if that's okay with you, if that's alright. I looked at her surprised as she opened up the portrait of Markov, so it's not manga, it's the portrait of Markov. Opened the portrait right back to where we left off. Really? Did you really enjoy it that much? She looked up at me and smiled knowingly. Maybe not as much as you think, but, you know, I gotta keep a promise, so you'll read manga with me tomorrow. Tomorrow's the manga, okay. I grimaced slightly at the prospect, but I did agree to it earlier today. So, let's read. I shrugged off my negative thoughts and settled in with Natsuki, the two of us preparing to read together just like we had earlier in the day. One last thing though, that Natsuki. She looked up at me as I stopped the page from turning. Who is the Fluffy King to you? You don't seem to have any male lovers from what I recall. Natsuki's face flushed red as she looked away from me. Is it Yuri? I think you're looking into it too much is what it means. Most guys would never pass as someone I'd love. I laughed a little as I turned my attention back to the book, content with her response. Is Natsuki into Yuri? Like, I think I've asked that question before, but seriously, I know we're like wicked, like I know we're like going wicked long into this, but I want to at least get done with like this whole like at-home club meeting kind of thing. Like once this day is over, then I'll end the video. I apologize if it's very, very long, but hey, you know, extra long video. Oh, I just fucking squeaked. Extra long video for you guys. I watched Sayori finish eating her third helping of dinner as my eyes were slowly beginning to droop from exhaustion. Before I could pass out, however, I shook myself awake as Sayori stood up and stretched. Woo! That was a great meal. Great meals, Sayori. Get your facts straight. You ate 3 meals. I smiled at her enthusiasm as I also stood up. Now that you're finally done, are you ready to clean up this mess? She looked at me confused before she looked at the table, her expression morphing from a confused stare to a pout. Can you do this for me? Please? God damn it, Sayori. I looked at her and let myself frown a little. Come on, Sayori. Please don't make me clean all this up by myself. She sighed as she begrudgingly agreed to help, and even though she seemed uninterested at first, she's going way faster than usual. I pretty much only had to move 1 or 2 dirty bowls to the sink before Sayori had finished all of the cleaning and washing the dishes. Sayori didn't respond until she had finished with the last bowl. For supposedly being lazy, you work real fast when you want to. Gosh. Ugh. She looked over at me with a tired expression. That was fun. She stood up straight with a smile and she grabbed my hand again, my face turning red out of automatic response. Sayori, you need to... She was already dragging me through her own house, like she had done multiple times at school. Why are you... Yuri and Natsuki both looked up at us as we passed by. All I could do was shrug as Sayori continued to drag me up the stairs and to her room. Sayori, what's going on? You're being really upfront about this. Sayori ignored my comments, instead dragging me into her room and closing the door before looking at me and hugging me tightly. She's sad. Sayori, are you okay? Seriously. No response. She let go, and that's when I saw it. Sayori? She was crying profusely, her body shaking as she started to fall over. Sayori! I nearly screamed as I managed to catch her, her body trembling as she clutched onto my arms tightly. I led her over to her bed and sat her down, hugging her as she sobbed. I'm... Her words came out in broken chunks, nearly incomprehensible. Why does this music sound very, very familiar? Not from DDLC and not from this mob, but why does it sound very, very familiar? I guess it's my turn to be the caretaker now, huh? I rubbed her back as she started to calm down, my head resting on top of hers, before she pulled away and locked eyes with me. I'm sorry, I don't know. I put a hand on her shoulder and shook my head. This is about earlier, isn't it? When Natsuki found you? She broke eye contact with me, looking down. Oh yeah, that's right. We had the weird jump scare thing, huh? I thought so. What happened earlier? She looked up at me. She seemed to want to talk, but instead she looked away. Please, Sayori. I moved my hand down to hers and gently held it. She looked down at the connection between us and then looked back up at me. Please tell me, I'm your friend. Your best friend. I care about you and I don't want to see you hurt like this. She remained silent for a few more moments before letting out a quiet sigh. I really don't know how to explain this, but he isn't real, right? I shook my head, lost as to where this was leading. Okay. She squeezed my hand as she formulated her next thought. But you are, right? And so are Yuri and Natsuki? I nodded as she looked down at her hands again. Is that like a blunt lie that Monika's just trying to... Because I think in the means of the story, I still don't think that the four girls are real. They have personality, but they're still fictional characters. I wonder if Monika's hiding that. Like, obviously, it kind of sounds like Monika's hiding that them themselves are also not real, and that even though they have personalities with one amongst each other, I feel like once Monika reveals that, oh shit, hell's gonna break loose. Oh, that's gonna be fucking awful. I wonder how far that's gonna be away. I wonder how long we are away before figuring out the actual truth of what Monika did in the original game. I nodded as she looked down at our hands again. Then he doesn't matter, right? And nothing he does matters either, right? I nodded again as she looked away from me, clearly in thought. Then why do I feel so bad? I feel so betrayed. She said it as she looked at me with confusion. You feel betrayed and used by someone you used to love. I get it. I said it quietly as she looked at me, a bit of realization coming across her. You still were hoping before today, weren't you? That this was all a sick nightmare. Or that this was just a funny joke. I swallowed once before continuing, seeing her emotions flicker. But it isn't anymore. It isn't. It's real. She looked at me and she seemed stunned for a moment, and then a fresh rush of tears streamed down her face, and she tackled me onto the bed with how forceful her hug was. Sayori. She sobbed loudly as she clutched my shirt. Monika, why? Why? Why did he do this to us? I held her as she bawled, letting her calm down again as I adjusted us both to be lying on the bed. After what seemed to be an eternity, I realized that once crying Sayori had fallen asleep, tightly attached to me. I sighed as I reached over and turned the light off, making sure my phone was on the charger for the alarm before snuggling in. I carefully pulled the blanket over Sayori and I whilst not letting her wake up. I always imagined myself doing something like this with a lover. Not a friend, you know. I said it to nobody in particular as I held her, looking down at her sleeping face and feeling that redness on my face flare up again. A lover. I realized that I might never find that now, without him, that was. I continued to stare as I pulled her closer and let my mind go off. A lover. I rubbed Sayori's back again. A lover? This is when Monika starts to question, like, what she feels towards Sayori now, huh? Sayori's turn. A lover? Natsuki asked quietly. I love that transition from Monika's a lover to Natsuki's a lover? Natsuki asked quietly as I stirred my morning tea with a small spoonful of sugar. Yes, I went to wake them up and I saw them cuddling like they were yesterday. I have a feeling they're hiding something from us. No shit. Natsuki grinned widely. She scooted into the seat next to me. Yes, I know this is the next day, but I'm waiting until school happens. Sliding over a plate of buttered toast and leftover bacon from yesterday. Or maybe they're just not sure of themselves yet. I mean, this kind of thing does tend to happen quite often. She looked down at her own plate eagerly before tearing into a piece of her toast. True, maybe they're good friends. My words trailed off as I remembered yesterday, considering how we found Sayori. Natsuki tore me out of my own thoughts. I don't know about that, but yeah, they're totally getting all snuggly with each other. I smiled a little as I picked up a piece of bacon, taking a moment to indulge in the wonderful aroma of the delectable strip before biting into it. Just as good as yesterday. So, since they're still getting out of their love nests, I wanted to ask you something about that book and stuff. I looked over at Natsuki, surprised. She seemed to be thinking hard. Yes? Did something confuse you? She looked at me and acted a bit nervous as she formulated her sentence. Do you see yourself as the main character, or like them? I raised an eyebrow. Does it seem all that serious to her? I didn't think it was. Well, yes, I do see myself in her, and I'm sure you see the similarities. Natsuki nodded before she swallowed her mouthful of toast. Yeah, but there's a few things, too, that honestly, I don't know, don't seem like you? I looked at her strangely as she stared at her toast with an inquisitive glare. Such as? I said it quietly as I stopped eating entirely. I mean, I'm sure not everything about her is like me. Well, for starters, she seems to have a lot more self-doubt than you do. I mean, you nearly broke that jerk's nose yesterday. I felt a slight bit of relief tingles through my spine, the tension I was feeling dissipating. Oh, really? You think I would attack someone? She smirked as she looked at me. Yuri, I don't think you have a cap on what you would do to someone if they got you angry. Like the saying goes, the quiet ones are always the most dangerous, right? I smiled and let out a quiet laugh as I turned my attention back to my bacon. What, am I wrong? I'm just pointing out the obvious. I smiled brightly as she looked at me, her smile obvious in comparison. No, you're not really wrong, but I don't want to inflict violence on anyone. Far from it, really. Natsuki nodded. Sure you wouldn't. She suddenly stole a piece of bacon from my hand and put it in her mouth, still smiling as I reeled back. Natsuki, why did you do that? I glared at her as she offered her piece. I was thinking carefully about my next move before leaning forward and biting the end of it. Yuri? She looked back at me a bit shocked as I chewed on it slowly. What? I'm just getting my due pay. She shook her head as she brought the bacon back to herself and bit the other end before holding it back out to me. I looked at it curiously as I leaned forward to bite into it again, Natsuki looking at me inquisitively as I do so. This feels... She followed suit as she bit farther down, leaving only one small piece left. This piece is for you. She said it quietly as she held it closer to me. I opened my mouth and gently took it from her, chewing it slowly as the two of us stared at each other. Natsuki finally looked back at her plate. Natsuki, I said it quietly as she... Oh, the music stopped. Fuck! You didn't let me read! I said it quietly as I started to reach over to... Good morning, you two! I pulled my hand back as I looked over at the now present Sayori. Why is Monika not dressed? Monika standing behind her with a tired expression on her face. Oh, good morning. I said it happily as I turned back into my chair normally. Morning. Sayori said it happily as she made her way into the kitchen behind us, taking into her fridge. Morning. Monika said it mumbling a bit as she walked behind us. The clang of glass cups came up as Monika prepared a coffee. Did you two sleep well? Natsuki asked it quietly in an oddly smooth voice. Yes, we did, Natsuki. Thanks for asking. I looked at her strangely as I chewed on my toast. You're being awfully nice today. You two comfortable sleeping up there with just the one bed? Sayori nodded with a soft smile on her face as she came around and sat down across from us, Monika joining us soon after as she sipped from her cup. Yeah, I'd imagine it's pretty warm too, with all the plushies and stuff. Sayori nodded as Monika looked up questioningly, and she then looked over at me with a rather curious expression. Especially Mr. My big cow plushie. She was about to say Mr. Cow in front of everybody. Sayori smiled nervously as Natsuki grinned widely, Monika's eyes widening as she started to realize what was happening. So, what else are you cuddling, huh? Maybe you're cuddling This coffee's fantastic! Natsuki, I don't know how you brew such a good cup. Good job, Monika. Good job changing the subject. Natsuki was caught up by a fast-talking Monika. Sayori looked a bit confused as she shrugged and went back to eating. Did you happen to get anything else for breakfast? Natsuki smiled widely. There's cereal in the pantry and milk if that's alright, plus there's more fruit in the fridge. I'm sure those two would cuddle up together nicely. God damn it, Natsuki. Monika smiled with a bit of an irritated look in her eyes before she got up and went over to the fridge and pantry. I leaned over and whispered softly to Natsuki, do you really have to do that to her? Natsuki nodded in response as I sat up straight, Monika soon coming back and joining us with a flustered look across her face. Anyways, we can take things a bit slower this morning, since the game doesn't even know it's alive until the club meeting. We all nodded in accordance as she sipped away generously, her eyes slowly becoming more aware. And you're all dressed already too. Sheesh, excited for today? Monika smiled as she picked up a strawberry, examining it as she bit into it and savored its taste. Of course we're excited. Even though he's around, it's still really fun to hang out with everyone. Monika seemingly flinched when Sayori said hang, but she smiled as well. Oh no, Monika knows what she done. I'm really happy to hear that. Are you two enjoying them as well? I nodded, albeit with a bit of disgust while thinking about having to deal with him again. But at the very least, I did have someone else around to help out when that comes up. Yeah, it's alright, I guess, although I'm looking forward to being able to do what I want here. It's much more fun without any big mean jerks trying to push me around or anything. I nodded to that one too. The others seemed to agree as well. In that case, we should probably capitalize on our free time at school, so I'm gonna get ready before I waste any more time. I had just noticed that she was still in her sleepwear, my eyebrows raising as I looked at them. Ah, finally a good delicious piece of bacon. Sayori said it cheerfully as they took a large bite. She took a large bite, a calm and blissful smile on her face. You're welcome, Sayori. Natsuki said it quietly as Sayori munched away. A quiet, well-rested mood settled over the table as Monika returned fully dressed. The four of us finished up our breakfast and headed out the door and towards the school. And that's where I'm leaving it. That is right where I'm leaving it, because if I continue any further, this thing's gonna be like fucking 2 hours long. And that's the last thing I want to do for a video. That's not being... I'm fine with long videos if they're streamed, but this one's not being streamed, so... And my neck has a kink in it. So, we're gonna leave it here. A lot of shit has happened. I feel like we're getting a lot closer towards the truth. A lot closer towards possibly Sayori and Monika getting together. Possibly Natsuki and Yuri getting together. I don't know what the hell's happening with them two. All I know is that they're good friends right now, but I don't know if that's ever gonna go any further. It might, who knows. But I'm enjoying this mod. A lot of shit happened this time around. Before I get any more of a neck cramp, I need to end this video. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, smash that like button, subscribe if you're new. I'd love it if the channel. You guys got a Discord. Come check me out outside of YouTube. It's gonna be a fun time for all. Hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as I did making it. I'll see you guys in my next one. Goodbye!